Hello National 5, in this video we are going to talk about analysis. In the terms of website development, analysis is the first step in the process to building your website. From the course specification, we are required to be able to identify end user and functional requirements in relation to the design and implementation at the National 5 level. So we'll get split up, we'll get a look at end user requirements, and then we're going to have a look at functional requirements. So if we start by looking at end user requirements, if we split this up into its two components, end users, and these are the people that are going to be using your websites. So these could be children, they could be adults, they could be experts in your field, they could be novices in your field. It could be anybody, but the type of person that's going to use your website will have an impact on the needs that they have, and likewise what you're going to have to do to make your website work for them. An end user requirement is what the user will want to do on your website. What actions and functions do they want your website to be able to perform? So if we have a look here at BBC and their news outlets. So on the left we've got BBC Newsround, and on the right we've got the BBC News website. Both these websites, the users have the requirement that they want to be able to access the news. The way that the two outlets go about doing it is different because the age of the users is different. BBC Newsround is targeted at children, BBC News is targeted at adults. So when they've built their website, they've taken the requirements of their end users into consideration along with who their actual end users are. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to have a look at these three websites here. We've got Swiggle, NHS and BBC Accessibility. As you're looking at the three websites, I want you to try and identify who the end user could be and what requirements they would have of the website. Pause the video here, go away and do that task, and then come back and we'll have a wee discussion as to what the end user requirements could be. So here we have our first website loaded up, Swiggle, and there's a great clue as to who the end user is straight away on the website, that they brand themselves as a child-friendly website. So the target audience here, the end user, is children. As a child, what might the requirements that I have be? Well, I might want to be able to access information that is easy to read and suitable for me. So if we take World War I, for example, you can see here I'm directed to some articles on World War I. The Swiggle developers have taken into consideration who I am as a user. I'm a child. So the fonts are nice and big, it's nice and clear, it's simplistically laid out, so I can see the information that I need. If we compare that to a search engine like Bing, you can see here the user interface is a lot more cluttered because the target audience, the end user here, isn't necessarily children, it's just general web users. Whereas Swiggle has been built specifically for children, so it's a lot clearer and a lot simplistic to use. And here we have our second website, the NHS website. Now, who's the target user for this website? Who's the end user? Well, it's probably adults who are looking to find out some medical advice. And because the end user is such a broad range of adults, NHS have tried to make it really nice and simple. An end user requirement that I might have is that I want to find a potential diagnosis to my health problems. So you can see here I can go straight away to Health A to Z and I can find out something about my health. For example, I'm maybe suffering from hair loss and I can see some possible causes and such like for that. And our third website, BBC Accessibility. So this website is for those that have difficulties in accessing the web, and it gives us information about how I can use the web for me. As an end user, if I'm visually impaired, okay, I can't see small writing, a requirement that I might have is I want to be able to make the font a bigger size. And we can see here the BBC have taken that into consideration, that I can make the text size bigger. If I can't distinguish between colours as an end user, that's a requirement that I have, is I want to be able to change the colour and the style of the website. The BBC have taken that into consideration. So you can see here the end user's requirement is what I as an end user want the website to do for me, and then we can spin that and look at it from the idea of the developer, and the functional requirements is how a developer goes about implementing the end user requirements. Let's have a little look at that in a bit more detail. With functional requirements, we start to think from the point of view of the developer, and we start to think about what we would need to create, include, or code to ensure we meet the end user requirements. So if we take Twitter, for example, here, as an end user, the end user wants to be able to see tweets of the people that they follow. Our functional requirements that Twitter are going to have to develop, they're going to have to create a login function so that I can follow people. They're going to have to do some clever coding that means that when I log in, it finds the tweets of all the people that I follow and then displays them in chronological order or in time order. So we're taking that end user requirement and kind of breaking it down into what I'm going to have to do as a developer to implement those end user requirements. So what I want you to do is I want you to have a look at 3 of these 6 websites. So we've got YouTube, Facebook, Google, Netflix, Wikipedia, and Amazon, and identify one end user requirement and then a functional requirement of how that is going to be implemented. So if you pause the video, go away, have a wee look at that task, and then come back and I'll talk through some potential ideas. So here we are with our first website that we can think about with regards to functional requirements. So we've got YouTube here. I've just loaded up a random video. And as a user of YouTube, I might want to like or dislike a video. And you can see here I've got the functions to like something or dislike it. I want to be able to like or dislike a video. The functional requirement that YouTube then have to implement is they have to implement the code that will enable me to like or dislike a video. And as you can see here, when I like a video, it's asking me to sign in. So that's a part of the function to make that work is I need to sign in. If we go into Facebook, one of the requirements as a user, I want to be able to post a picture. So Facebook then have to implement the code behind that when I go to photos and videos, I then have to go and upload a video. Google, for example, if we're looking for an image, I only want images that are copyright free so I can use them. So therefore, when Google has implemented it, the functional requirement is that implemented there. So as a user, I want copyright free images. They've got to then go and implement that function somehow. When it comes to Netflix, I've got Netflix. I like my TV, but people in my family also use my Netflix, but I don't want them to impact on the TV that I like. So we create profiles. So I, as a user, want different profiles so that the kids' TV is separate from everybody else's. Netflix go and then implement that functional requirement to make sure that that happens. Wikipedia, okay, I speak French, so I want to be able to access Wikipedia in French. That's a user requirement. So they then have to go away and figure out how they're going to translate all their articles from one language into another so that I can access and understand the website. Amazon, I'm looking for some shoes, quite like these ones, but I want to see what other people that have bought these have also looked at. So therefore, that is another function they've then got to implement, the ability to look for similar products within that range. So there we have talked about end user requirements and functional requirements. And to summarize, an end user requirement is something that I, the user, want to be able to do on the website. A functional requirement is something that the developer must do to ensure my requirement, my end user requirement, is working.